Welcome back to Beyond the Feet. My name's Josh. In today's video we're going to be checking out the Hoka One One Clifton 7, how it stacks up against a few different shoes, and yeah, which one you should be picking up. Before I get into it, thanks very much for getting us to 3,000 subs. We really do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, head over to our Instagram at Beyond the Feet. Make sure you hit follow there. We're going to start posting a lot more content on there quite shortly, so yeah, let's jump into it. I'm not going to go too in depth on your Hoka One One Clifton 7. Kez has already done a full video on that one, so I'll leave a little link up here or somewhere down in the description, so make sure you check that out. Pretty much though, it's that full cushion daily trainer. It's designed for a neutral foot, so someone who stays quite straight throughout the gait cycle. It has a rocker sole on it, so it's going to give you a nice smooth transition from your heel to your forefoot and then onto your next gait cycle quite easily. You got that nice flare away at your heel counter to lock in the foot nicely, and then just a really nice dialed in upper across the top. So overall the shoe fits and feels really nicely. Durability underneath, we're looking about 800 k's in the shoe with that higher abrasive rubber at your forefoot and also around the back of your heel. So overall the shoe fits really nice. It's really dialed in with that gusseted tongue they got going on as well, and yeah, a nice cushion ride all the way through without being too soft to where you can't get onto your next step efficiently. So first off, the Clifton 7 up against New Balance 1080. If you look at both shoes, they both look really similar. You got kind of that rocker sole in both shoes, a ton of cushioning all the way through, and then a nice dialed in upper on both. And even the heel counters look similar with that flare away. So yeah. So how do they both feel? I'd say the Clifton 7 is a little bit softer underneath the foot initially. When the 1080 does soften up, the fresh foam does get quite spongy and you sink into it even a little bit more. So in terms of initial comfort, your Clifton 7 is going to be a softer feel and does hold its responsiveness quite nicely. Your 1080s initially feel a little bit firmer, then tend to soften up and you still get a nice bounce back as well. So just really personal preference. Looking at the outsoles in both shoes, you can see there's a ton of rubber under both. I'd say you're going to get about 800 out of both, so durability wise they're going to be somewhat similar. I'd say your midsole component in the Clifton would last you a little bit longer. I did just find the 1080s tended to kind of soften up a little bit more, so yeah. Moving on to the uppers in both shoes, both provide that really snug dialed in fit, wrapping across the whole foot. If you're wanting that more firm fit across your midfoot, I'd look at the 1080s. Just with that hypo knit, it's going to lock in that foot just a little bit more, and it kind of gives you that like second sock feeling, almost like a fly knit by Nike. It just wraps around the foot really nice. In terms of a heel lockdown, I would say the Cliftons lock down your heel a little bit better. It's just a little bit more dialed in around the back, and yeah, it suits the foot really nicely. I just think they've added that little bit more depth. Coupled with that bucket seat they got going on with the Clifton, it gives you that nice lockdown at the rear foot. So if you're someone who lands on your heel and is quite unstable, lean more towards a Clifton. However, if you want kind of that snug second sock feel wrapping across the foot, look towards the 1080. One thing to point out is the bucket seat in the Clifton. If you're someone who gets a little bit of irritation on the medial side or the inside of the foot, this guy does wrap up a little bit more, so your foot sits into the midsole a little bit more. That provides you with a little bit more stability than the 1080. However, for someone who has a really low arch or rolls in a lot, this does have the potential to irritate you, so yeah, just keep that in mind. Comparing the Clifton 7 to the Glycerin 18, both that max cushion daily trainer, going to be really durable under the foot and just feel quite soft in general. I would say the Glycerin 18 initially does feel a little bit softer, a little bit more spongy underfoot, so if you're after that really plush shoe, the Glycerin 18 will work really nicely with that. Your Clifton, with that little bit more of a rocker sole, I'd say it's a little bit more of an efficient shoe, so it gets to your next step a little bit quicker, having that slightly more responsive midsole, where your DNA Loft is Brooks' most soft cushion. They do say it's quite responsive and bouncy as well, and it is. It holds up really well, but it does give you that initial softer feel to start with. Looking at your outsoles, durability wise, you're going to be about 800 out of the Cliftons, or I'd probably say even 900 to 1000 out of the Glycerins. The green rubber they got going on tends to be quite durable underneath. If anything, you wear out the midsole before you did the outsole in this guy. So with your rubber, you do have a fair bit even on the medial side. That acts as somewhat of a stabilizer, even though it is a neutral shoe, so holding the foot quite nicely. Ton of flex grooves up towards that forefoot as well, so you get that nice toe off. Whereas with your Hoka, having that rocker sole, you don't want the toe to flex too much at all. so it's just going to hold its shape a lot more. So yeah, personal preference. If you want a bit more of that traditional cushion feel, look towards the Glycerins. However, if you want to go with that new rocker feel that a lot of people are going towards, the Clifton 7 will work nicely. In terms of your uppers, they both lock the midfoot down really well. Your forefoot's a little bit different. I'd say you can probably wiggle your toes a little bit more on the Glycerin, and it is splayed out just that little bit more. It's not a wide width, this is a standard width. However, for some people it might just feel that little bit roomy or have that tendency to get a little bit sloppy in the upper. Looking at the heel counters though, they both give you that nice lockdown around the back. Rooks have always nailed the heel counter. You got a nice bit of padding around the back and just that nice kind of V-shaped heel counter there. So it's going to lock in the Achilles nicely. Similar kind of concept with the Clifton, however you got that Achilles flare away. So for someone with a little bit of Achilles tendonitis, you're not going to be irritating that at all. Both have that semi-gusseted tongue to locks in the foot nicely, and your lacing system's fairly similar. A little bit more of a padded lace on the Glycerin, so less likely to kind of feel it. But I mean, overall, both great fitting shoes. So the Clifton's a little bit lighter, where the Glycerin's that slightly heavier, more plush cushion feel. So if you're wanting that snappier shoe, go to the Clifton. If you're wanting that more soft cushion feel, go towards Glycerin. And the last one in this video, your Clifton 7 up against the Novablast. Both got a ton of cushioning under the foot. In my opinion, they are designed for different purposes, so I could see you having even both of these in a rotation. You got your Clifton 7 as a daily trainer, where I think the Novablast is a bit more of that tempo shoe, being a little bit more unstable at the heel, but nice and bouncy and responsive at that forefoot area. In terms of durability underneath, you are going to get longer out of the Cliftons, looking about 800 Ks, where I think you'll kind of max the Novablast out around 700, mainly because the outer sole is designed to kind of give you that little bit more bounce, that little bit more of a trampoline effect at your forefoot. So it's nice and responsive there, and it does handle the wet quite nicely, so you stick to the road quite well. When turning corners in it, you can be a little bit more unstable with your uppers in the Novablast, where your Clifton gives you that nice solid midsole and locks you in really well. Looking at the uppers in both shoes, I'd say your Novablast is going to be a little bit more breathable. You got plenty of aerated holes in that forefoot, even that midfoot area as well. And with that functional logo, it does kind of hold the side of the midfoot quite nicely, but the shoe does have a ton of depth there. So if you're someone with a low arch or a low instep, this shoe isn't going to hold your upper as much. If you have a high arch, high instep, it will actually hold you quite well. In terms of your heel lockdowns in both shoes, your Clifton's going to wrap around the back there a lot nicer and lock you in a little bit more. Personally, I found my heel slipped a little bit in the Novablast. And in terms of your forefoot area, if you need a little bit more depth in there, lean towards the Novablast, just because you're going to be able to wiggle your toes a little bit more, having that aerated mesh. In terms of weight, the Novablast is a ton lighter, but again, I say they are two different purposes in the shoe. The Clifton is going to be for that daily trainer, so if you want to go smash out 10, 20 Ks, I'd lean towards this guy. However, if you're wanting that faster tempo shoe and you want to pick up that pace a little bit more, kind of get up around those 420 Ks, look towards the Novablast, because it is going to be a little bit faster, a little bit more bouncy. If you need that little bit more cushion and take out the next day leg fatigue or that jarring running up the body, lean towards the Clifton 7. And that'll about do it for this video. So that's your Hoka One Clifton 7 up against a few different models. If there's any other shoes you want me to compare this to, like a new Triumph, the Asics Nimbus, a few different models out there, make sure you let us know in the comments. We can easily do another video on it. Till next time, smash that subscribe button, hit the like, and yeah, catch you later.